We're going to be talking about business and your next career move. So over the past few months, I have really been searching on just a newness in my career path, literally sitting before the Father and allowing Him to speak to me about that. And I learned some things about myself. I learned that I wasn't in the posture of where I needed to be in order to hear what God wanted me to be aware of concerning the next stage of where He was going to position me. I had to literally sit and ask Him some things about myself. Like, God, what do you want me to do in this next career move? And I was in prayer. And a few weeks ago, maybe about 3 weeks ago, He spoke to me and said, I need you to redo your resume. And then He pushed it a moment forth. He said, I need you to really put in for your field in which you've been waiting on. And I'm like, well, literally, I've been waiting on a lot of stuff. So I needed Him to be more clear about that. And then He told me, He said, I need you to start putting in applications for a career coach. Now, let me back up and just rewind all the way to the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. I always desired to, coach and all this other stuff. And I've been doing it for some time, but I was not certified in it. And God was like, I need you to position yourself. And He was like, I need you to get certified and some things. So I said, okay. And He was just saying to me, I need you to become a life coach. I need you to become a nutrition coach. I need you to become a career coach. I need you to become a spiritual coach. I need you to become a goal setting coach. And some more stuff. And all these things, I said, okay. And I completed them all, but I was still placing them in use. But I really wasn't doing that because I was building up my clientele for my marketing company. And then the push came to where I literally had to see God's hand really move in my life in a way that was just trickling down from pray, put in applications, and then I'll send the resources. So last week, promise met purpose for me. I was literally, going through my morning and I get this phone call. And let me tell you how God moves. So I get a phone call from this private nonprofit organization. And, the woman that is leading, I believe she's vice president, and she calls me and she says, I like your resume. I want to know if we can schedule a time for you to come in for an interview. And I am like over the moon, but I'm still, trying to constrain my excitement. And so I said yes. And so we made an appointment for like 10 o'clock the next day. I'm in a round of some heavy interviews, right? We get through maybe like an hour and so of the interview. And I'm pitching, as to why I would be a good candidate for the position. We go through a series of questions. And then the final time comes for me to sit in the lobby. And I do that and I say, okay, they tell me that they have to go over some stuff and they'll, pull me back in within 15 minutes. So as that time is going by, I'm just like really delighting myself in God, because before I went on the interview, I already placed the job in God's hands, knowing that He was going to catapult it because my skill level was the match and the need for this position. And I say that with such a sincere heart and with clarity that when God sends you something, when He positions you to do something, He already got that job and that career in the bag for you. You don't have to stress. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to do nothing but present the gifts that God has placed in you. And so on the interview, they checked my credentials, told them that I was doing yearly programs for women, incentives and that. And guess what? They researched the things that I told them. So they pulled me back in the room and they said, yes, we want to just ask you some more further questions. And I said, okay. So we went maybe for about a good, maybe 2 to 3 more minutes of questioning. And they told me, they said, okay, gather your stuff. And in that moment, I did not cringe. You know how you're on a normal interview and you're like, grab my stuff. Wait, hey, are you going to tell me if I have the job or not? And once I walked out the door, the vice president says, I need you to follow me upstairs. And so as I began to gather my stuff, place my jacket over me and grab my backpack and my other bag, I said, okay, no fear came over me or anything. Cause you know how you get the jitters when you're on, an interview and you really want the job. None of that came over me because I knew that this job was positioned from God. Like I said, promise is meeting purpose in my life. And I go upstairs, then, she tells me, hey, I need you to take an assessment. So I'm taking an assessment, and, I'm going through them, and then the assessment was finished. And about time, I say, hey, I'm done. She goes away and she lets me in the office of the HR department. And so I'm in there, and, she's asking me, questions of, how did I like the process of the interview? I said it went really, really well. And then she tells me the vice president, after HR, asked me the questions, the president walks back in, she closed the door. She said, welcome aboard. She said, we're making a faith move, and we like everything that you're presenting. We like everything that you're about, and we're going to start you. And so the vice president, she goes back because, they were in a lot of board meetings that day. And so HR, she said, when can you start? She said, do you have anywhere that you're going on vacation? You can tell us, and then we'll put that in. I said, my availability is open. I can start Monday. And that was that. Let me tell you, it's no hourly job. I am on salary. I'm literally over the youth department when it comes to coaching and careers, and get them acclimated in summer programs, and also, just teaching them levels of how to really get into the work field, and also for young adults, having them in apprenticeships, also having them, to come and just do things to be an intern. So it's very fulfilling when your gift can be in a level where you desire it for so long, but God finally says, hey, you're ready, and I'm going to launch you out. And so with that, I've been on the job for basically, it'll be a week Monday, and I'm getting acclimated in that. So I want to talk to you guys about how to position yourself for your business and your next career move. One, you have to really facilitate who you are even before the promise meets the purpose. Because see, God has to do some things. He has to really know that you are going to be the one that gets out there and really does what you need to do. You can't sit around and say, God, make me available, without actually doing the work. Oftentimes when we are doing business and we're looking for that next career shift, we're waiting on God, but we're not really kicking up any dust, right? So it's kind of like we're waiting on God to like fulfill what he said over our lives, without movement. We got to get out of that mindset, because I was once stuck in that mindset. So let's talk about business. So how to go into the structure of really setting your heart on making moves. You may have a business, but you also have a career. Let's shift that focus. So now you still can work in your business, right? And you can still go after the dream in your career. You can do both, because I'm doing it. I am being reminded daily, do not lose the focus of the heart of the business or your career. And so it takes double time, right? You're working, you still have to have a functional business, and you also have to have a career that you love. So one, you set out rules and schedules for you working on your business, and you also want to line up with how your career is going. Are you at a place where God is impressed, that is pleasing to him? Is this the purpose and the call in which he positioned you to be in for that career, for that business? If not, you have to really take some time before God and ask him, God, what is it on your heart for me to do in my business and also my career? You got to learn how to talk to God effectively so that he can talk back, and so that he can structure his ways in your life versus what you want to do and you want him to approve. You got to give God his time. You got to give him his respect, and you got to adhere to the things that he desires for you to do. So your business is your business because you're called to the marketplace in whatever capacity that God has seen fit to you to flow in. But your career will be able to touch the heart and the lives of people. So you have a dual mandate in the marketplace. You have a dual mandate in functioning with people. So you might be that boss, in your business, but you're that member of an organization that will help, people curate something in their lives based on the gifts and the call that God has given you, the grace that he has saw fit for you to function in that. And most people are not called to a dual process. They're probably just called to a place in the market, to help people get where they need to get to. And that's that. But a lot of people, such as myself, and for the listeners that are listening right now, you are called to a dual set place. You're here to shape the atmosphere. You're here to walk people through their process in the marketplace. So you need to get in alignment. I want to really encourage you all to get in alignment of where the shift is coming, because God can do a suddenly in your life. He can tell you, hey, I need you to put out this social media flyer, flyer, or I need you to put out this graphic and it's going to catch the eye of somebody, or I need you to shift your resume, or I need you to go on this interview. I need you to start really, digging into places. So let me tell you guys what I did. I put my resume. I put every impactful thing, okay, on this resume. It was literally 2 pages long, and it only should have been 1. But my heart and soul was for them not to just get a glimpse inside of who I am and why my passions run so deep for, really helping people in the marketplace and business and learning web design, graphic design, and a plethora of other things digital, right? But also to help coach people in their careers, also to grab their vision, and also to really make it come alive. Words off paper comes into reality, right? I'm gonna say that again. Words off paper comes into reality when you function in what God has told you to do. So the social medias and the platforms that I use were LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, and not at all is this podcast episode sponsored by them. But hey, if you guys like to pick it up, let me know. You can email me at info@menthevow if you guys want to partner. LinkedIn or ZipRecruiter. So I literally placed this on Indeed too. So, but my job opportunity and interview came from LinkedIn. I also put in for a remote job, but this is not remote. It's hands-on, which I like too, because I think I would get a little bored, working remotely. But if I had to, I would. But I have my own office space. I also have, a business cell phone, a dual screen computer, and also a laptop. I get to set appointments with businesses and clients, and also to do checkups, teach classes, bring about awareness for new programs, and also submit them for approval. I am able to make presentations and, go over just different things, and really have the heart of what God has positioned me to do in this time, to be acclimated in this. So it's lining up with the vision that God has called me to do, because 2024, my academy, Zedek Academy, is dropping, but I am really taking my time to really grow this thing. And 2 key things that they asked me in the interview process. They asked me, where do you see yourself a year from now? And I told them, I see myself really functioning and operating in the gift and the calling that even more deeper that God has called me into, because this is a faith-based private organization. And they asked me, so where do you see yourself 3 years from now? I said, I see myself really teaching the heart of my gifts, such as, helping young adults into a place of entrepreneurship, teaching them technology, traveling for business, also speaking, writing, and, everything that's on my heart. And they said, so how do we stay in the rhythm in what you're doing? Come on, somebody. When a nonprofit organization is just in the interview process and love what you're saying and ain't asking how to keep the partnership, that's big. And so I told them, I said, well, I would really stick with the foundation of the organization as well. No matter how I grow big in what God has told me to do, I always want to sit somewhere, even if, I have to come, and just sit and, just get in a place of, well, I know home is home, and I know business is business. I know assignment is assignment. I know purpose is purpose, and I know kingdom is kingdom. Everything comes together because you need roots to help you grow. And it's an opportunity where I can function and I can also be free to really be creative, and I just thank God for the shift. And I'm praying that, you would settle in a place where God can shift you and that He can move you into your next. When God sends that word for you to grow into your career, you need to really be steadfast and really pray and fast that thing out, because your business matter and also your next career move matters. It doesn't make sense not to give God the opportune time to speak to you, because oftentimes we can be so busy to where we can't hear from God, but we are crying for a word. We are crying for a space and time for God to talk to us. And so we really have to be still and be quiet and know that God is operating in things to form something in us. So as we come to a close in this podcast episode, I want you to remember key tools when God tells you to bring something to a close in your career, it's not because He is closing a door on your career. He is just shifting you. When God is telling you to do something new in your business, it's not that He is telling you to give up on the purpose or the vision. He's just transitioning you into another level that He is calling you to. Some things fade out and get burnt out and get old. And God is seasoning your business and watering and planting it into something more divine that He sees that you probably can't clearly see. So I hope that this podcast has helped you clarify some things in your business and in your next career move. Remember to follow us on social media using our handle at Mend the Vow. You can also support this podcast by sharing and listening, and also going and making comments and also giving us questions. You can do that by going to our direct podcast and just leaving a voice message and we will get to you. You can also send us DMs, and also if you are in a transition of really switching the narrative of your business called by God and also your career move, we love to support you and hear about that. Things to look out for in this time with Mend the Vow podcast. We are dropping our podcast in early January, and I'm so excited about that because it is a shift and move of God where we're going to help people birth their podcast and also sponsor their podcast on our site. So I love you with the love of God. Keep moving and keep being on the mended road. Until next time, I am your girl, and I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.